Welcome to London, in the mid-19th century, one of the most dangerous cities on earth, not because of wars or famous villains, but from the quiet perils of everyday existence: tainted water drawn from public pumps, the choking air thick with coal smoke, the relentless press of bodies in narrow streets that breed disease and fatigue. Danger here is ordinary, everywhere, and often invisible, seeping into your lungs, your stomach, your very bones. Most modern people, used to filtered taps, sanitized air, and open spaces, would struggle to survive even a single week without breaking under the slow, unyielding grind. You wake before dawn, your throat raw and dry, as if lined with dust. The summer heat clings to your skin like a damp cloth, and the first thought piercing the haze of sleep is thirst. Simple, insistent. The pitcher by your bed is empty, its clay cool but useless. You must go out, into the streets, for water. Each step from your narrow cot brings a faint ache in your joints, a reminder of yesterday's labors. But you push it aside. This is how mornings begin. It's the summer of 1854, in the crowded lanes of Soho, London. This isn't the polished capital of empire you might imagine from storybooks. No grand boulevards or gleaming carriages here. Instead, it's a tangle of aging buildings pressed together, where families share rooms meant for one, and the air carries the constant undercurrent of rot. The romance of the age fades quickly when you live it, replaced by the stark reality of bodies fighting against an environment that offers no mercy. You step out into the street, the cobblestones uneven under your boots, slick from last night's refuse. The air hits you first, a mix of coal smoke from nearby chimneys and the sharp tang of urine from the gutters. It's muggy, even at this hour, the humidity wrapping around you like an unwanted embrace. Sounds filter in, a distant cart rumbling over stones, the low murmur of neighbors stirring, a child's cough echoing from an open window. Light is scarce, the sky still gray, filtered through a haze that never fully lifts. People here have learned to ignore it, or perhaps they've forgotten how to notice. They shuffle along, pails in hand, toward the public pump on Broad Street. It's a communal ritual, this queuing for water. Conversations drift, talk of work, of aches, of the price of bread, but no one mentions the faint murkiness in the flow. Why would they? This is the cleanest source around, or so they say. But each pump of the handle draws from wells tainted by unseen leaks, cesspools seeping into the ground just yards away. The danger is normalized, a part of the rhythm. Day after day, it erodes you slowly, the subtle buildup of poisons in your blood, the quiet weakening of your gut that leaves you vulnerable to fevers that strike without warning. You move on to the market stalls lining Greek Street, where vendors hawk loaves and wilted vegetables under makeshift awnings. The smells intensify here, overripe fruit mingling with fish guts spilled on the ground, flies buzzing in lazy swarms. The humidity makes everything stickier, your clothes clinging as sweat beads on your forehead. Sounds swell hawkers calling out, bartering in accents from across the city and beyond. Light slants through the gaps between buildings, casting long shadows that hide the puddles you step around. Food is scarce and dear, often handled by unclean hands, stored in damp cellars. Eating means risking more than hunger. It's another layer of exposure. Your body absorbing what it shouldn't, wearing down defenses you can't see. Work calls next, in a cramped workshop off Dean Street, where you bend over a tailor's bench for hours. The room is dim, lit by a single oil lamp that flickers and smokes, adding to the heavy air. Humidity seeps in through cracked walls, making the fabric damp and your fingers ache from the needle's prick. Sounds are muffled, her heavy snip of scissors, the occasional groan from a fellow worker, but the press of bodies in this small space breeds its own hazards. Shared tools, shared breaths, all in a place where ventilation is a luxury. The labor grinds on, hour by hour, taxing muscles already fatigued from the morning's fetch. It's not dramatic, this wearing down, just a steady drain on your strength, leaving you hollowed out by midday. Your resting spot is back in the lodging house, a shared room on the upper floor with thin walls and a sagging mattress. The air is stale, heavy with the odor of unwashed linens and cooking grease from below. Humidity collects in the corners, fostering mold that you brush away without thought. Sounds intrude, constant linagers arguing, footsteps on creaky stairs, the distant wail of an infant. Light filters weakly through a grimy window, enough to see the bugs scurrying across the floor. Sleep here is fitful, interrupted, your body never fully recovering. It's accepted, this closeness, families pile in to afford the rent. But it frays you, the constant proximity inviting illness to spread like whispers in the dark. The most insidious spot waits at the pump itself, that iron sentinel in the square. You fill your pail, the water gushing clear and cold, tempting in the heat. It looks harmless, tastes only slightly off like chalk, or perhaps something more organic. Locals joke it's the flavor of London itself. Amusing, in a way, how the city seasons its own demise. But each swallow is a silent wager. Bacteria unseen and unnamed slipping past your lips, coiling in your insides. No one knows the science yet. They blame the air, the miasma. Your body, meanwhile, absorbs the tough cramping that might come later, the weakness that builds unseen. Now, midday approaches, and thirst demands satisfaction. You lift the ladle, no choice but to drink. The water slides down, cool at first, then settling heavy in your stomach. A faint twinge follows, dismissed as nothing. But in this place, nothing is ever truly nothing. The system wells, cesspools, ignorancianciers you without fanfare, pushing human limits to the edge. As the sun hangs higher, you pause, wiping sweat from your brow. The morning's efforts linger in your limbs, a dull throb. How much longer can one endure before the invisible claims its due? The heat of the day fades into afternoon shadows, but the city's underbelly calls. Fatigue pulls at you as you descend, trading open air for the depths below. The afternoon has thickened. Your legs feel heavier now. The morning's walk to the pump and back already settling into your calves like wet sand. You descend the narrow iron ladder, each rung cold and slick under your palms. The daylight shrinking above you until it is only a pale square far overhead. The smell rises to meet you for sharp, ammoniac, mingled with something deeper and more animal. This is not fresh air. This is London breathing out. It is the year 1872, beneath the streets of the city. In one of the newly completed sections of the Great Sewer System, engineers call it progress. The men who work here know it by a different name, the underworld. The brick tunnel is vast in places, cathedral-like, yet it feels like being swallowed. The walls weep constantly, moisture running in thin dark streams. Sound as strange hairier footsteps echo strangely, then die abruptly against the low roar of flowing waste. Light comes only from the lanterns you carry. They're weak. Yellowish glow paints everything in shades of sickness. You move forward, boots sinking slightly into the shallow stream that never stops moving. The current is slow, viscous, carrying solids that bump against your legs like soft, deliberate touches. The humidity is total. Your shirt clings within minutes. Your hair sticks to your forehead. Your lungs work harder for less oxygen. Every breath tastes faintly metallic, faintly rotten. People adapt, of course. They learn to breathe shallowly, to keep their mouths slightly open, to pretend the smell is just background noise. Adaptation is not the same as safety. Further along, the tunnel widens into a junction chamber. Here several branches meet, and the noise swells, gurgling, rushing. The occasional deep belch as trapped gas escapes. The air is warmer than above ground, a damp tropical heat that never lets your body cool. Lanterns hang from hooks, throwing long shadows across the curved brick. You can see the sheen of slime coating every surfactant, organic varnish. That grows back faster than it can be scraped away. Men work in small teams, shovels scraping at blockages, long poles probing the flow. The work is endless, repetitive, necessary. Without it, the streets above would flood with what now moves beneath. The danger is patient. It enters through the skin, through the lungs, through every cut that refuses to heal in this place. The sewer gas, they call it, carries hydrogen sulfide, methane, carbon dioxide in shifting, unpredictable amounts. Sometimes you notice it only as a faint sweetness, almost pleasant. That is the moment to be most careful. A few minutes of that sweetness and the world begins to narrow. The edges soften. The body forgets how to stand upright. Men have dropped dead mid-sentence, faces peaceful, as though they simply decided to lie down. The others drag them out, curse quietly, and keep working. There is no other choice. You pause to adjust the lamp, wiping sweat from your eyes. The flame flickers, throwing your shadow huge against the curve of the wall. For a moment, the light catches something floating past a scrap of cloth, a small bone. Things that once belonged higher up. No one comments. The river of waste accepts everything eventually. A small ironic detail catches you. The newest stretch of tunnel was built with better ventilation shafts than the old ones. The men laugh about it sometimes, calling it aristocratic air. A thin pipe high in the roof lets in a whisper of the world above. Most days it makes no difference. Today the wind is in the wrong direction, and the pipe only sucks the fumes deeper into the chamber. Progress, as ever, is partial. The work continues. You bend to clear a partial blockage, the shovel heavy in wet gloves. Each lift sends a dull ache through your lower back. That has become as familiar as your own heartbeat. Hours pass in this posturement, breathing shallow, eyes stinging from the acrid haze. The body protests in small ways. A tremor in the fingers, a tightness behind the knees, a persistent taste of copper in the mouth. These are not emergencies. They are bulletins. The body reporting that reserves are being spent faster than they can be replaced. Towards the end of the shift, you reach the worst stretch, a low, older section where the ceiling has sagged, forcing you to stoop. Here the air is noticeably thicker. Lanterns burn lower, as though the flame itself is tired. The smell changes less sharp, more sweet, more dangerous. Conversation drops away. Everyone moves more slowly, more deliberately, saving breath. Someone upstream coughs, a wet, hacking sound that carries too far in the confined space. No one asks if he is all right. They already know the answer. When the whistle finally sounds muffled, you straighten with difficulty. Your spine makes small protesting clicks. The climb back to the surface feels endless. Each rung a negotiation between tired arms and slick metal. When your head finally breaks into open air, the daylight is almost painful. The ordinary street smells horse manure, coal smoke. Baking bread feel luxurious by comparison. Yet the damage is already done. Your clothes are soaked through with something that is not merely water. Your skin itches where the effluent touched it. Your lungs feel coated. Tonight you will cough up black phlegm. Tomorrow you will do it again. The body keeps score quietly. As the last of the crew emerges, blinking into the late afternoon, you stand for a moment on the pavement. The city moves above you, unaware of the men who keep its bowels from backing up. The irony is quiet but persistent. The cleaner the streets become, the dirtier the men who make it possible. The day is not finished. Evening comes, and with it the fog. Evening settles over the city like a heavy curtain. The temperature has dropped, but the air has grown denser, slower. You step out from the lodging house, collar turned up, and immediately the world shrinks. Visibility is measured in feet now, not yards. This is not ordinary fog. This is the particular London fog of late December 1891. Along the north bank of the Temesa thick, yellow-brown shroud born of river dampness, thousands of coal fires, and the winter stillness that traps everything close to the ground. You walk carefully, one hand trailing the wall of the nearest building for guidance. The other holds a small lantern whose light barely penetrates the murk. It creates a soft, dirty halo round you and little more. Each breath draws in air that tastes of soot and sulfur. Your throat tightens almost at once. Eyes water immediately, then burn. This is not dramatic pain, just a steady, insistent irritation that makes blinking feel necessary every few seconds. Within minutes, your lashes are coated with fine black particles. The street is never silent, even in this smothering blanket. Footsteps sound muffled, as though coming from underwater. A horse's hooves clop somewhere ahead, the iron shoes ringing dully against stone. A cough echoes, then another, then a small chorus. People here have learned the different kinds, the dry hack of irritation, the wet rattle of something deeper, the sudden violent spasm that ends in spitting black phlegm onto the pavement. No one comments. It is simply the soundtrack of December. You move toward the river, following the gentle downhill slope and the increasing smell of tidal mud. The fog grows thicker near the water, folding around you in layers. Street lamps appear as faint orange smudges, each one isolated, useless beyond arm's length. You pass other shapesmen hunched against the cold, women with shawls pulled tight over mouth and nose, children who should be indoors but are not. Everyone moves slowly, Speed is dangerous when you cannot see the curb, the gutter, the sudden drop to the river steps. The danger is cumulative. A single breath does little harm. 100 breaths begin to coat the lungs with tar-like residue. 1,000 breaths, over weeks and months, turn healthy pink tissue to something brittle and black. The body fights back for a while, cowing, producing phlegm, narrowing airways to keep the worst particles out, but the fight is exhausting. Eventually the lungs tire. When they tire, infection waits, pneumonia waits, bronchitis waits, and when they arrive quietly, disguised as just a winter cough, until the fever climbs and the breath shortens and the bed becomes a prison. You reach the embankment. Here the fog is almost liquid. You can feel it settling on your skin, greasy, cold. The river itself is invisible, but you hear its slow, thick sucking against the stone piers. A barge horn sounds far downstream, low and mournful. Somewhere nearby a man calls out directions to his companion, voice strangely close and far at once. Left, mind the chain. Navigation by voice and memory. A small, dry observation occurs to you as you stand there. People still refer to this as the London. Particular, the phrase has a certain charm, almost affectionate, as though the city has earned the right to name its own poison. You turn back, retracing your steps by feel more than sight. The cold seeps through your coat, meeting the dampness already inside. Your chest feels heavy, not from fear, but from simple accumulation. Every winter this happens. Every winter more people weaken. Some do not recover when spring comes. The newspapers will carry no headlines about it. There's nothing newsworthy in the ordinary dying of lungs. Near the lodging house you nearly collide with another figure emerging from the fog. He mutters an apology, voice hoarse. You both continue without further words. This is courtesy in the season of fog. Do not linger. Do not breathe too deeply in another's face. You reach the door, fumble with the latch, step inside. The hallway smells of boiled cabbage and coal dust. Up the narrow stairs, into the shared room. You set the lantern down, its glass streaked black. You sit heavily on the edge of the cot. Your coat stays on. Undressing would only release more particles into the small space. Outside the window, the fog presses against the glass, soft and persistent. Inside, your breathing sounds loud in the quiet. Each inhale carries the day with it. The morning's tainted water, the afternoon's sewer damp, the evening's acrid shroud. The body records all of it, quietly, without complaint, until it can no longer refrain from complaining. You lie back, still coated in the city's residue. Sleep will come slowly, interrupted by coughs that taste of coal and river mud. Tomorrow the fog may lift, or it may not. Either way, the air will still carry yesterday's weight. And the day after that, the lantern flame gutters once, twice, then steadies. You watch it for a long moment, the only light left in the room. The question remains, unasked and unanswered. How many such evenings can one set of lungs endure before they quietly, inevitably, give up? The fog answers with silence.